Finding a spiritual mentor, specifically as it applies in the scriptures, can save you a plethora of time and subsequently a lot of failures and pains. Shalom everyone, my name is Makariah. Today I'm going to be covering who my spiritual mentor is, why that is, and how you can do the exact same for you and how that will lead to spiritual growth, a spiral really of spiritual growth. My spiritual mentor is Daniel, and the reason why is really his wisdom, and less the wisdom that he spoke, and he did speak a lot of wisdom, but his actions were evidence stacked up against, or stacked up for, the idea of him being one of the wisest forefathers that we have in the scriptures. His faith that is enlaced with his wisdom and how it translates into a character of unwavering principle is truly beautiful to me, and it absolutely was for me when I was really in my youth. Daniel was wise, he was composed, he was very, very intelligent. And it seemed that he always knew what the right thing was to do. Now, what you're going to want to do when it comes to finding your spiritual mentor is know yourself a little bit, right? Like, you're going to want to know exactly where you are now in the spiritual realm and where you want to be in the conclusion thereof, if there is a conclusion. And if not, then you need to find out what that goal is and what that looks like. Do you want to be wise? Do you want to be strong? Do you want to be powerful? Do you want to be kind? What do you want to be? What does your spirit feel like it's being, what does your soul feel like it's being called to be in the spiritual realm? And so, whoever that is and whatever that looks like, I'm pretty certain that you can find some sort of equivalent of that in the scriptures. So for me personally, it was Daniel. So, once you've actually found who this mentor of yours is going to be, your obligation now is to study literally everything that they've done, all of the references within the scriptures, and totally submerge yourself in the digestion of the things that they did that was pleasing to the Most High, and to you for that matter. And you're going to be sort of merging into that character. And why this is so important, and we touched on it just a second ago, is the Most High has these individuals written in the scriptures for a reason. They are to be examples for us. And so with that being said, find the good examples, because there are good and bad examples. Find the good ones and really harp on that and say to yourself, how can I display those same characteristics that the Most High found pleasurable into my life and reap the same spiritual results that these individuals did? Because, especially for me, for Daniel, it is written that Daniel is beloved of the Most High as a person, and that's really, really, really profound. That is a huge goal of mine, even though, like all of Israel, my actions don't all the time resemble that. And so, with that being said, if you have a sort of scriptural, biblical corpus role model to go by, then your goal seems a lot more attainable, because you're sort of cultivating this blueprint that you have to follow. Now, a lot of Israelites are going to say this, well, why don't you just do that for Christ? And fair enough, it's just, with me personally, Christ was the true perfect, the archetypical structure of the perfect man, and that's really going to be hard to follow after, And so Of course, I'm not saying don't follow him. We all are following him in his footsteps. It's just going to be very discouraging when you realize just how big of a gap there is between you and the literal Messiah. So, perhaps a more realistic, fallible person who was actually still acquainted as the Most High's friend is far more likely to be achievable of some sort of measure. So with that being said, there are amazing role models. We know that David was a fallible man, but he was considered a friend of the Most High, such as Enoch and Noah. And you really want to study after that, right? There is a German philosopher named, I believe, I'm going to butcher his name. It's Friedrich Nietzsche. One of his, and he actually wasn't the one to make this quote, but he's the one who's accredited it, pun intended when you hear the quote, which is, great men are seldom credited their stupidities. And so if we're going to make this quote applicable for this particular conversation, I'll swap out the word stupidity for faults or shortcomings. Because when people think about King David, they think, oh yeah, it's King David. That's the man who slew Goliath. That is the friend of the Most High, the King of Israel, father of Solomon, mighty, friendly, the dancer of praise, the seed that led forth to the very Messiah. But a subsequent reality is that he had that fault with murder and adultery, and we'll just stick with that. And so with that, we also have Daniel, whose faults are not recorded biblically as far as what my research is consistent of, but we do know that all men are guilty of sin, and subsequently that they are all worthy of death. And Daniel was recorded that Daniel was asking for forgiveness for his and Israel's sins. So there's that. We know that every single person outside of Christ had their moment of spiritual problematic cause, and they have to fight through that. And then you, as the reader, gets to read how they did that and how you can apply that to your own life and how you can teach that to other people and have them benefit from the same teaching. And so that's why I believe that this is a very important video, because Daniel, he's my spiritual mentor, and it was made very evident to me recently by the Most High that he wanted me to strive for wisdom, simply to be wise, right? And so my professor in the scriptures for that became Solomon, as some may have guessed already. That's pretty obvious. But Daniel is one of the reasons why I am so strong in my faith when it comes to the walk of the truth. And I believe that there's someone in the scripture that can do that for pretty much everyone, whether it be David, Solomon, Job, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, John, Matthew, Peter. The list goes on. But once you find this mentor of yours, and once you study everything that you can get your hands on in regards to their life experience, you're going to try your best to begin to develop their traits as sort of a memoir and importance of their life. And you're going to integrate that into your experiences so that way you can illustrate your dedication that you have to them, their teachings, and more importantly to the Most High. Because what's likely to have made them friends with the Most High is likely to make you friends with the Most High. It's actually written by Solomon that the wise are the friends of the Most High. So, if you strive for wisdom, and likely the spiritual mentor that you're going to find in the biblical anthology is going to be someone who is wise, or at least has some sort of notable wisdom. That's the reason why they're there in the first place, if they're a good example. Once you've garnered that, and once you've lived by that throughout the trials and tribulation, proving yourself to yourself and to wisdom, then the Most High will likely start to relish your friendship and relationship, which, in my opinion, is truly powerful. It's going to be all for this video. I really hope that this will help. So remember the homework. The homework is find your spiritual mentor, study everything you can get their hands on, and start to illustrate their teachings in your life. Other than that, as always, I want you guys to stay safe, stay dangerous, and be wise. Shalom.